Hi everybody, it's Russ and My Hammers 11. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hitting that bell icon so you don't miss any of the great videos we come up. Obviously, we've got interviews coming up daily, but sometimes 2-3 times a day. Every interview, every memory, whether it's from a fan or an ex-player or a celeb, it's all brilliant stuff. So make sure you don't miss any of them, including today. I'm a bit of a fanboy, I'll be honest, John. He made over 200 appearances for the club across 9 years. Not really much you can say, you know. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere. It's John Moncur. How you doing, Jonks?
Fantastic, mate. Yeah, good to be here.
Thank you very much. How's I know everyone says it, but how's lockdown treating you?
Yeah, all right now. Now the golf course is open, so I'm getting out. Yeah, it was a little bit hard at first, to be honest with you, but I took up running again. My knee's a little bit dicky now, so. Because before that, I hadn't run for a couple of years. So it's all right. It's just getting your mental side. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get that.
And talking about that, when I signed, I just had a thing there, a vision, mental side. I signed on the same day as Joey Beauchamp.
God, remember him, God.
Because I remember talking to Harry and Billy Bonds, and they went to me, listen, we signed a fantastic player here today as well. You know, because obviously I had Chelsea sniffing.
Yeah.
So I went, oh yeah. They said, yeah, Joey Beauchamp. He said he's from Oxford. And to be fair, he was quite talented.
Yeah, yeah.
I said, lovely. You know, that's good then. Anyway, cut a long story short. 2 days later, I'm sitting on the bus with him. We're going to Eastbourne. And he says to me, I didn't realise it was 2.5 hours from Oxford. I said, oh no. He went, I've got to leave. I said, you're having a fucking laugh, ain't you? And this is a true story. I said, I wouldn't go public with that one. I said, they'll lynch you. But he did. And I think he lasted about a week and a half or something like that. Ridiculous.
Yeah, he did. So in terms of that story, because obviously, you know, we as I said, we try and do the, find out sort of the origins. So we'll go a bit before then, because obviously you're a West Ham boy. Yeah, born and bred, you know.
Yeah.
And is that, you know, was West Ham always going to be your club when you support, you know, obviously from a kid?
Well, I signed for Tottenham when I was 11, but obviously my mum and dad, their parents was all out of Bow, all out of Stepney, so it was one of those. We moved out of the East End when I was about 7 or 8. But obviously the desire to play for West Ham because the connections was massive. So. When Chelsea did agree $1 million or whatever it was at the time with West Ham, it was a big decision for me because obviously Odderwood took me to Swindon and he was then, so it basically kick-started my career really. He knew me from a kid at Tottenham. So that was probably the big thing. But when I met Billy and sat down, and then it was just one of those moments that you just knew it was right. Your heart ruled your head a little bit. I suppose Chelsea was a bigger club, maybe at the time, in terms of, you know, would they offer you a better deal, whatnot. But I just wanted to sign the West Ham, so it was all tied up within a day.
Yeah, and that was it, and the rest was history. The 9 years. I mean, you know, incredible run for a player.
Well, to be honest, that's the thing. Like you look back, and Chelsea went to the money part was pumped into the club. But then I look back and think, well, from a personal level, I couldn't have had 9 years, a better time at a club. I had an affiliation with the fans, and obviously it suited me. It suited my character, I think, that club. I loved the training ground. I loved the lads. I loved everything about it. And the history of West Ham and everything else. And as I say, I look back, I made the right decision 100%.
Yeah. Oh, totally. So you did, John. And you said, you alluded to that, you know, the sort of characters you had, you know, 9 years, you know, you had some characters and some stories. What was it like at that training ground? You know, when you're on it in terms of, you know, your classic pranks and everyone else, a Mad Dog. And what was it like? It just must have been like every day you must have been on what's going to happen next.
I know people say, oh, well, you do miss the lads, but that was it. It was fantastic. I mean, if you was a little bit down and you'd had a bad week in terms of losing, you'd brighten each other up. It was a place where it was, you know, the banter was there all the time. And I think Harry saw that as well. Harry Redknapp saw that because Billy left after a few weeks when I was there, which was bad. But I think Harry got together characters that it suited the way we was as a group. So if you had, say, half a dozen of us that were strong British characters, if you like, then we got a long way on that team spirit, I think.
Yeah.
And, you know, the everyday banter, you couldn't let your guard down, mate. It was fantastic. And I just used to laugh. Some days I'd come home, I'd sit indoors when I get in and just couldn't stop. Like, my guts were killing me from laughing at what happened, you know, during the day. But it was brilliant times.
Yeah, no, it sounded. Yeah, I mean, obviously you hear all the stories, and you coming out, with your hair painted on white and naked. I mean, actually, it was funny. We interviewed a fan, and he was at the training ground that day, and they, when they used to hang around Chadwell Heath, and sometimes they let him in, and then it was the last time he was allowed back, unfortunately. When you came in, start pot naked with your hair white, it was absolutely mental.
Well, I thought the problem was when it was cold, freezing cold. The lads used, especially the foreign boys, used to nick the kit, and I thought, well, I've got to make a stand here. So I went to Eddie, and I loved it. And I said, Ed, tracksuit, mate. He went, only what's in the bin, Monk. I said, well, go in the bin. So I thought, right, that's it. So I've peeled off. I just had my boots on, and I come flying out. And there was this massive puddle, and I went done a Klinsmann through it, jumped up in the air, and I said, right, I'm taking the warm up today, boys. But the thing was, Harry had seen me tear past his window. So he's had a double take. He's come flying out of the office. Get him in here, So anyway, I've gone in the office. He said, we've got Sky cameras here today. You mad? I said, well, I'm telling you, unless I get a tracksuit every day when I want one, I've been here 7 years, I said, I'm doing it every time. He went, right, we'll sort it out. He said, Eddie, make sure he's always got a top or a tracksuit put by for him, whatever you do. So that was it worked.
That's how it worked, isn't it? And I think also that time was like that Harry period, as I call it. As a fan, that was the most exciting time, I think, for being a West Ham fan in my career, fan career, because it was, you had, as you said, a real nice bunch of characters which you could relate to. Plus, you had it was like a soap opera, Then then Paolo Futre would turn up, or then Di Canio, and it was just everywhere. It's every game. It was just
it was, and people like the foreigners mixed in. They couldn't believe it half the time.
No.
I mean. One fella, I did laugh, David Sood would come out, and he was a golden boot by Real Madrid 2 years. And there was something wrong with his groin. I don't know, he couldn't kick the ball. I said, you got the golden Wellington here, I said, the way you're playing. Like, that was the banter. So I got on well with him. So I was buying a few shares at the time, and he gave me this, he said, look, because he was very high up with a lot of people.
Sure.
So he said, I've got some shares for you, Monk. He said, because obviously, the lads, I had a few disasters because I was buying and selling a few shares. Didn't know what I was doing really.
Yeah.
But it was just like having a gamble. Anyway, this share. So he went, right. 2 weeks time. There's a warning. There's a statement coming out. We'll have it. Yeah, we'll have our money back. So Harry's here Wiggins. So Harry's gone. What's that then? Anyway, we all had a bit of this share. We're waiting. 2 weeks later. It fell out, the bottom fell out of it. They had a profits warning. We've all done our dough, right? So in training, I'm steaming into him, crack, kicking him up in the air, smash. And in the end, Dave, I used to call him Dave's getting up going, Harry, and he's going, play on, what's the matter with you? Enough to say, I've done me dough and all. Kick him some more, he's going. But it was all in good taste, you know what I mean?
Exactly. That's what you get. And it just seemed. I mean, I was rewatching that Bradford City game, and obviously you scored that in that game. Good goal, remember? And someone was talking to me about that game the other day, and that just epitomised that whole era for me because it had everything. It had something like that happened in every game, but it was just an amalgamation. The fact is, on a Saturday I turn up and we were playing Bradford. I didn't think we're going to have a game that we still talk about 20 odd years later. Do you know what I mean? Such a mental.
Yeah. Well, it was, as you say, it had everything. I think Xhaka broke his leg.
He did.
Early on. I scored and then couldn't get my shirt back on, and then I had a row with Harry half time because I'll give a penalty away straight after.
Yeah.
Yes, so it was like he's like, I can put, you're taking your shirt off. That's why you give the penalty away. You couldn't get back on. So I've said, well, fuck me, let me enjoy it. I said I ain't scored for about 6 months, so it was like, and then second half we had like 4-2 down, and we had the infamous penalties, didn't we? Di Canio got fouled. He probably, out of them 4 fouls, or 2 of them were blatant penalties.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
He had his head off, didn't he? He had a nearly went off, take me off, and all that. Then they had the wrestle over the penalty when we finally got one, and it was just fantastic. And then Joey Cole and Frank Lampard scored the 2 sort of, the young boys we called them. Yeah. Scored the 2 goals. I think we won. Was it 5-4?
5-4. Yeah.
What was funny as well, Stevie Bywell was quite a character.
Yeah.
He had a lot of confidence, and he was only young, but he had a nightmare that day. And it was the first game where we had them screens around the side.
Yeah.
We put them up, and someone's had a shot. He's already let 2 in. Someone's had a shot that's going towards the thing. But he's looking up at the self on the screen because they've got him on the screen. And the whole crowd sort of said, Harry, screaming at him because he ain't even looking at the game. But it was a mad game.
Yeah, it was, but that's the thing. Something like that happened in every game in that era. Do you know what I mean? There was always something, or there's, I don't know, a moment of genius from Paolo, or you having a giggle, or you maybe on the sub having a giggle with the linesman. There was always something going on. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I think people look at that era with so much. So because we were bad as well. We were a good team.
We was, and we got in Europe through the Intertoto. But having said that as well, we come 5th the next year.
Exactly. And
didn't qualify. So we had a real good team now, and it was a good blend, as you say. There was characters, there was good players, and we went from a relegation team really first year I signed up to that era, and we was more of a top half team. Yeah. So to be fair to Harry, he assembled a good squad of players there in the end, and we was very lucky that we had Rio Ferdinand come through, Carrick, Cole, Lampard, so Defoe in the end. So it was a little bit of and you need that in a club. You need your own grown players coming through with, assembling a good squad, which we did.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think because you got that thread, as you said, of like homegrown talent, academy boys, West Ham fans like yourself in the team as well. You could really relate to that team. Do you know what I mean? Particularly now in the modern game, I think because everyone buggers off after about 2 or 3 seasons, you don't get that sort of, apart from maybe Mark Noble, and because obviously he's been around for 10 years now. You don't get that association with the players anymore now, which is a shame, because I think that's why I loved your era, and obviously the era before. You had obviously the Gowleys and Tony Cotties and people like that, because they stayed around for a long time.
Listen, you're right, and you get a feeling for the club. It means something.
Yeah.
I know we like to laugh, but to be honest, we trained hard, we worked hard, we loved to laugh, right? But there's no way that you go home after a defeat and not be disappointed, because, I had so many West Ham fans with my mates as well, which makes it even harder. They're not going to let off the hook. So it did, especially the boys coming through the academies, it means something. Yeah. And it goes a long way, that.
No, you do, definitely. And that's what sort of the whole point of this channel is, to sort of talk to different fans, but also players from different eras, because it's about the stories that's around that time, but also the players, as you said. And we try and do this Hammers 11 thing. So the idea being is, picking players from a player's perspective, people they played with. Now, obviously, everyone's done it. Mad Dog, they've all done them. Gailey, they've all done them. So it's quite interesting to see the players that meant something to them. Like a classic example is someone like Pete Butler. So Pete Butler doesn't get any fans 11 really, but most of the players like Martin Allen, Steve Jones, people like that, we really revered him as a player. And I've had to,
I played with him for a year there.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually played with him and all a few years before, loaned at Cambridge City, Cambridge United, when I went there. And I got on really well with him. You know, we dovetailed well in the midfield there. But he was like 100% Duracell.
Yeah.
Work, never left anything out there. You know what I mean? Wore his heart on his. So yeah, he was a good player, but he sadly ain't in my 11.
No, I wouldn't think so, because he didn't really sort of play much with him. But when I interviewed him, he's a national manager of Liberia. So I interviewed him, and he's in Liberia in a complex which is owned by George Weah, who's the president of Liberia as well. Mental.
Right.
He's and he was Botswana national team manager as well. Absolutely brilliant. Great stories.
Yeah.
So it was actually, because he phoned me. He said, I've got to make sure my laptop's on charge in case there was a power cut. And I thought, maybe he's like in Yorkshire, because he's up north, in some sort of.
Yeah.
No. Liberia.
Mind you, he was a bit mad.
Yeah.
Funny lad. Great character.
Yeah. Really good guy. Right, okay, let's go back to your 11, John. So 4-4-2, we try and keep it, mainly because I'm not very good at video editing, more than anything. Which is all right for people of my generation, because I've had to learn as well this process, interviewing the more experienced fans, they left halves. I never knew what a left half was, an inside left, and I've learned all this stuff now. But we'll keep 4-4-2. So for you, Monks, who's your goalie? Who's in goal?
Well, I'll be honest. I would obviously say Ludo, but do you know what? For the couple of years that I played with him, David James was outstanding.
Good chat,
he was. He come to West Ham after the Calamity James saga at Liverpool and all that. He was an absolute fantastic goalkeeper. I mean, that particular couple of years, I think there was you'd go a dozen goals that no other keeper would have saved. Because he was 6'5". He was a complete athlete. He built like a quarterback. He could throw the ball further than most people could kick it. Yeah. But again, he would come out and demand his box. He was fantastic in the air, catching and shot stopping. And I think he'd found his confidence at West Ham. So I'll put him in purely because of that. What I saw them 2 years. He was probably the best goalkeeper in the league at the time.
Oh, definitely. And you're right. I mean, we've been all right. You just reeled off like Ludo, David James, Xhaka, Fabianski. It's one position I think West Ham never really has a problem. Well, we had a problem a little while ago when Fabianski was injured.
Go to Bill Parks, isn't it?
Yeah, all the way to Parksy and Ernie Gregory and God knows, Mervyn Day. It's people I've just learnt about in the last sort of few weeks, really, people like Ernie Gregory. But goalkeeper we don't seem to have a problem with, which is not bad, and we've got a couple of good youngsters on loan at the moment who are out. It's Nathan Trott, who's just come back, and from Wimbledon. We'll be all right, I think. Obviously, and it's important. I think I underestimated the importance of a goalkeeper when Fabianski got injured recently.
Without that,
sort of completely fucked up most of our season, to be perfectly honest.
Changed it round for us, didn't it? We was looking low till he got Tilly when he was the main reason. So it's the most. It's so important. Yeah. Goalkeeper. Not only that, it gives the back four confidence. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So then, what you saw with West Ham, once Fabianski got injured, then what's happening? The fella that sort of come in and his confidence is low now, it spreads to centre half, start making rash decisions. The right back, the left back, they're on edge. So it's a communication thing. It's the most important thing, the keeper with the back four.
Yeah. And similarly from mid, it follows on, doesn't it? So it's like the back four are confident, and you guys sit in the middle. You've got confidence in your centre. You don't have to worry so much about tracking back, and so it breeds. It's like some domino effect, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
All right, I'll put him in goal. Let's go left back then, John. Who we got left back?
Well, I was going to change my system for these two because Stuart Pearce was. I mean, I would change my system to get my players in the team. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, do it, John. John, right. You can do anything.
What I would say then, I would say left wing back.
Yeah,
would be Jude Hicks because he was probably the best left back I've ever played with. He had everything. He not only was a you know, the Terminator. He was good in the air. I just used to love it when when I was playing alongside and I see him getting stuck into the winger. It used to inspire me to.
Yeah.
It gave me you know what I mean? And players bounced off players. So he was tenacious. He was a good athlete, and he had the best left foot. You know, he could open a can of beans, mate, on his left foot. There was nothing. He could drop balls into you. He could chip balls into the front. He could hit a 30, 40, 50 yard across field. So, and a left back with his goal scoring record, it's very hard to come by. So I would have to, obviously him. And what I'd do, I'd go 3 centre halves.
Yeah, go on in.
I would go Piercy on the left because apart from Dixie, he's the other best left back I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm changing the system really to get these two in the pitch. So I'd have Piercy, Stuart Pearce left centre half. Another again tenacious, good technique, but they used to frighten the life out of wingers.
I can imagine. Yeah.
I mean, I played against Piercy a few times, and he was an animal, but he wasn't dirty. That's the thing. He wasn't over the top. And another player with fantastic qualities, great left foot, and you need them characters in your team because, like any good team, you need to have the opposition feeling a little bit fearful, and they're the sort of players that done that.
Definitely, and you're right. It's like, particularly someone like Julian. Not only would he get you guys going, but he'd get the crowd going from a left back. It's not a glamorous position, left back. You have picked probably 2 of the greatest left backs that played for West Ham, but still, he could tackle or one of his, as you said, one of his pings. Everyone be on their feet, and we've heard the stories about him training and going in, and if he wanted to do it, he'll do it, and he wouldn't warm up. And we interviewed Tim Breaker. He was like, I couldn't understand. He really pissed me off because I'd be training, warming up for like 30 minutes, and then Julian would just come out and just
ping a ball. But that was it. He never stretched. He never done nothing like that. He just used to turn up, and that was it. He was ready to play. But I think that was his way of not giving the monkeys. It helped his. Do you know what I'm saying? Certain players are like that.
Yeah.
If he put that, it's not that he was unprofessional.
No.
The fact that it was his way of preparing for a game or training.
He'd rather put it in the game as well, it seemed, rather than necessarily do. Do you know what I mean?
And for him to go out there and think, right, I'll do my own thing. I'm Julian Dix. That helped him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can relate to that. So then I'd have Alvin Martin.
Yeah, Big Alf.
Big Alf. Another player that. He's a West Ham legend, but another player that was very tough, good in the air, exceptional on the floor. People didn't give him enough credit.
That's something that comes through quite a lot talking to people. He was as a player.
And what I loved about him, he would, a bit like Stevie Perryman back in the Tottenham days when I was there. Not so much with me, but I see it with Glenn Hoddle and players like that. Alvin would look up to shell a ball, and he'd cut it into you. Right into midfield. Well, I loved getting on the ball, and for me that was tremendous. And I used to think what it did for me, the opposition would drop off because he'd look to ping it down or go long or ping it down the line and cut it into me. Yeah. So it'd give me a yard to turn and try and I thought he's a footballer because he trusted me enough to give me the ball. And listen, he'd do that to all the midfield players, but he read the game well. He was a good captain, good talker. So him in the middle there, marshalling, I would say was, been a great, what's the combination with some sort of PSC. And the other one alongside him would be Rio Ferdinand.
Oh, yeah, nice back three.
Yeah, and the thing is, you've got a balance with the left and right there. And Rio was the Rolls Royce. I mean, there wasn't nothing he couldn't do really. He could play any position in the park. He had it all. I mean, he looked like he was never. I mean, I didn't obviously know Bobby Moore, but I watched him in videos, and he reminded me of him. Always in control, timed his tackles, wasn't Rio wasn't a smasher and a like the other, like Piercy or Dixie. He would nick balls off of people. He would, you couldn't get past him. And then when he got the ball, he would come out. He'd come out of it. So he'd break into midfield and set play up. And so, fantastic player, as we all know.
Definitely.
And right wing back, I would actually, just to get him in the team, and he could do this job, although he never played there, was Trevor Sinclair.
Oh, tricky Trev, yeah.
Was another fantastic player. He could play off the left, off the right. But again, he was a fantastic athlete. So he could play that role in that system, because Rio would come over and be his cover.
Yeah. And
we'd push Trevor on. You'd get him on the ball going forward more than anything. And he would make an extra attacker. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're the sort of players that would fit that back system, because the two wing backs could become wingers up, Dixie and Trevor.
Yeah.
And also you've got enough behind them as cover and enough quality to. So that's what I'll do on the back five there.
Yeah, that's nice. And you're right. I mean, they're almost like it's almost like the modern day fullback isn't really a fullback now. They tend to be like auxiliary wingers now, isn't it? They overlap the wingers and stuff.
Yeah, you take just an example. Victor Moses become a wing back at Chelsea. Yeah, because he had enough cover behind him. So Trevor Sinclair could do that all day long. Yeah. In actual fact, he was a better defender than him. So that wouldn't be a problem.
Nah. Okay, we'll put Trevor in. Okay, that's the back five. Let's go into midfield then. John, who've we got a few midfielders then?
This was tough, but I would put Ian Bishop.
Bish Bosh, yeah.
Bish Bosh, one of the best players I've ever played with at West Ham, because we had a telepathic sort of. Neither of us were. We were both 2-footed, and we was quick in the brain. We were, there was a couple of years there, maybe 3 years. We'd put ourselves against any pair in the middle there. Don't care who it was, whether it was, I don't know. We had some battles against Holloway and Barker. There was always Vinnie Jones and the other fella. And then you went into like the Arsenal lot or the Man United lot. We didn't fear no one, me and him, because we had a lot of confidence, and we had a lot of confidence in each other. So I'd know where he was. I could flick a ball round the corner to him, one touch. He'd give it back to me. We'd be freed up. He'd do the same. And he was a player a bit like me, where you could hit, off of either foot, long balls. Yeah. He could play short. Very intelligent footballer, Bish. Yeah. And should have played for England, in my opinion.
Yeah, should have done. When I interviewed Mad Dog, he said, I loved Ian Bishop and I hated Ian Bishop with a passion, because obviously Mad Dog would be ready for war, when it's game time. And Bish would go up to the midfield, "Oh, hello, mate, how are you? And he'd be like, what are you shaking his hand for? I want to kill the man. It's like absolutely brilliant. But again, you had these different characters. You had Martin was seething, ready for war. But yeah, Bish was, a fantastic player and a lovely guy as well. And again, I could you too. You did. I can just remember it. Remember you and him just like doing a little pings to each other. It's so funny. Bring back all the memories. Right. Okay. Who's next then, John?
Then alongside him, I would have to put in Michael Carrick. Right, because another absolute quality footballer, 2 feet. Football brain, good athlete, and for a big sort of tall man, he was very elegant. He didn't stay as long as you would have wanted at West Ham. No, but he was a fantastic footballer, and I couldn't leave him out, because I like that type of player. So he just sort of had a little bit like Rio at times. He never got flustered. I remember going to him. We played Arsenal on a Tuesday night or Wednesday night at Highbury. So they had Petit and Vieira in there. And we had a bit of a makeshift team. Michael, I think it was his away debut. Yeah. And I said to him, "Listen, Mike," I said, "nice and calm tonight." I went, "Don't worry, son, if it goes off, I'm there to back you up." I said, "I want to get into them too anyway, like, banter." So we was 1-0 up, and they give us 2 terrible decisions. We lost 2-1 right on kickoffs, and it all went off. Anyway, I ended up before the FA on a charge, and Mark Foley, and Michael Carrick had his cigar on all night. It was like, you know, it was like Pirlo in there. And afterwards, he said, what happened to like be nice and calm? He said, you're flying about like a lunatic. He said, you're up before the FA. He was only sort of 19.
Yeah.
I said, well, listen, we still had a blinding night that night because we had played 2 World Cup winners.
Yeah.
So that's how I knew that he was going to be a top draw player.
Yeah. And can you see it, John, when you obviously when the youngsters come up, and obviously you've some academy boy obviously would naturally train with the first team. Did you know it? Could you see these players like when you train them going, he's a player? Don't think much about him.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, players. That's an old saying.
Yeah.
And I think when you've gone through a period of time where you had 10 years in the game, a young player comes along like that, you know, and the same as the next one I'd played out in there, and I'd play him in the old would be Joey Cole.
Yeah.
He was just phenomenal. When he first broke into training with us, he was arguably as good as Paul Gascoigne at Tottenham when I see him.
Yeah.
So he was that good, COYI. I mean, he was just a box of tricks. He had so much ability. And to be honest, it was a little bit, what's the word? At West Ham, there was never really a position they could find for him, Harry.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I don't say it held him back, but that was sort of labelled with him later on. You know, he couldn't play in a 4-4-2 apparently because of the defensive side. So if you weren't playing a 10, where would you play him? So they started playing him out on the left and things like that. But in my opinion, he could play anywhere. He was that good. So another fantastic talent that come through our academy. Yeah,
definitely. And you're right. And it was like that famous free roll that we don't have it in the game anymore now. That was that should have been Joe Cole's, isn't it? And it's almost like when he went to Chelsea, and it almost like they forced a little bit of that flair that out of him a little bit because he was more stuck on the left.
Well, Mourinho, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But exactly. So that's where, in that system, I would play him in the old, 2 behind him.
Yeah. And
obviously you get the help from the wingers, wing backs. But COYI he's one of them players. If I was manager, just go out and play, mate. Go and hurt the opposition.
Yeah. And when he had that freedom, I remember seeing him when he came through the Youth Team Cup final, and he was twirling, doing those little 360s on the ball, in the final against Coventry, against a good team. I think Kirkland was in goal for Coventry. They did him like 9-0, and it's like, amazing time that was. All right, we'll put COYI in. Strikers.
Tough one, this. You've got to put Di Canio in.
Yeah. What was it like? What was it like with him?
He's just a maverick, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he's mad. He's mad as a marcher, the geezer.
You lot probably got on well with each other because, everyone's a bit.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. I thought I was mad till I met him. He was a classic, but he was one of them fellas that get him fired up, get him on your side. No defender could handle him. No team could handle him. He was just. He was probably a genius. You would call a genius player. We had him. His legs had gone or were going a little bit. He wasn't perhaps as quick as he was, but he was still as good as he was. He become even better with the intelligence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Player, and one of the 3 best players I've ever played with. So
who are the other 2?
Well, I've got to say Glenn Hoddle.
Yeah.
I've got to say Paul Gascoigne, but Di Canio was the best West Ham player. I would say.
Yeah, good caveat. Yeah, I know what you mean. But it's not a bad 3 players to list as your best 3 players you played with, John. To be honest. Well, but PDC him, and who's the final piece of this Moncur pie?
I would really struggle because I went from Johnny Allison, who I loved, and Jermaine Defoe and Ian Wright. So in the end, I thought to fit the system, I would go Johnny Allison.
Yeah.
Because for me, he had that 2 years at West Ham where he was unplayable.
Totally.
And it helped us a little bit because we was a footballing team, but we could turn the ball into him. And he saved us one year when he signed. I mean, we was bound for relegation. And he saved us that year. And the year after, I think he might have got 24 goals.
Something like that. Yeah, I think it was second in the Premier League.
Ridiculous, yeah. And he was just unplayable. And people didn't give him enough credit on the deck because he was a good footballer. He had a good touch. But a bit like Andy Carroll, you hang a ball up, mate, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the debut. It made me laugh. We was in the tunnel and the Tottenham game where we ended up winning 4-3. And I'd known him before anyway. And I'm standing there and he went to me, Monkey said, Sol Campbell, he's in the pocket, mate. Don't worry about that. And Sol's standing next to him. So I went, that's Andy, John. I said, that's good to know. And Sol weren't saying nothing. Because what happened, he used to batter him in his Arsenal Tottenham days in the youth team.
Yeah.
And that night, I could be honest with you, the first 3 balls that went up into the battlefield, Sol Campbell was jumping up with a turtleneck. He was waiting for the smash.
Yeah.
And Johnny clattered him 2 or 3 times. He ended up going off with hamstring. But just the unplayable, sort of the old-fashioned Andy Carroll, you know, Tony Aitley type player. So he'd have to get in just because to mix it up a bit. Although I loved Ian Wright and Jermaine Defoe because they was out goal scorers.
Yeah, they were. But I think you're right there. I think, Hartson would fit that team quite nicely. And as you said, it gives you another option, doesn't it? He does talk about, when I interviewed him, he did talk about that goal, his debut goal. And he just said, look, I was just going to go for it. I knew he said, I actually almost exactly the same. I had Campbell in my pocket when I knew that when I came on the pitch. And he said, I was going to go and no one, 2-3 Sol Campbells wouldn't have stopped me scoring that goal. He was on, Campbell was on his arse, and he says, then my manager said, grab the badge, kiss the badge, and I was kissing it and everything. He was like, he was
his hero then.
Yeah, exactly. He says, you score against Tottenham, his agent said, you're going to be a fan favourite. And it's true. And it happens, Tony Coyyi did the same thing. He scored in his debut against Tottenham, and happens quite often. But John, man, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I've really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for your time. Though the weather's going to be turning, so I don't think you're going to get out tomorrow, but who knows?
No, I'll have a day off tomorrow, mate.
Have a day off. We got Chelsea. So just watch Chelsea on the telly. So there you go.
Do a bit of painting. I'll paint my head again like I did at the training ground. I'll paint it claret and blue and watch Chelsea game. The spirit
of those 90s. John, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And obviously, thank you to everyone for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Again, any comments, read them all. Humbled by all the support for the channel. And until next time, for me and John, take care, everyone. Stay safe, and we'll see you all again very, very soon. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.
All right.